This is the Gospel Chariot. I thank God for this opportunity time that He has given us to be the partakers in the recreation of Africa. So we are here to help Paul Much of Africa to recreate Africa. So we said in the first video that he was born Mamvura and he was then, benedicted. When he resurrected, he was then named Paul. So, but whenever we mention his name, we say Paul Mwaja of Africa. And the 1940 revelation speaks to the recreation of Africa. So there's a word Africa here, which is not being left as far as his assignment is concerned, as far as his task is concerned, or as far as his priesthood is concerned. Let's try to define Africa here. Africa. The position of Africa right now is the position where the landmass, which was created by God initially, used to be found. Initially, the landmass was one single landmass. There was no these 5 continents. There were no these 5 continents. It was just one landmass, which was called Pangaea or Pangaea, depends with how you want to pronounce it. Then this landmass surrounded by waters. If you go to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, where it said, in the beginning, God created heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light a day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Right. So, if you go to verse 6, it says, and God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. Right, let's move on. Verse 9, which I want you to pay attention to. And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered in one place, and let dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters He called seas. And God saw it that it was good. Right. So this verse 9, when the landmass came out of the waters, so it was only one landmass, which was called Pangaea, or which was called a landmass. According to God, when He created the land, He named it land. But now, with time, it was called Pangaea. Right. Then later on, it is split into 2 parts, the northern and the southern part. The northern was called Eurasia, and the southern was called Gondwana land. Right. So this further splitted to form other parts of the continents. So if you then they slowly diverted because of the forces that happened, the movements, the plate tectonics. For those who did the topic called plate tectonics, or who did geography or geomorphology, you have learned that there were some forces, currents, which which are happening today within the landmass or within the inner part of the earth, which sometimes they will be moving towards each other or they will be moving away from each other. So these diverting forces, they then forced the landmass to split. Like, when there are these volcanoes, it was forced to crack and then separated from each other. Then two landmass which were further splitted, Eurasia forming Asia and the European. Then the Gondwana land, which formed the American, the Australian, Madagascar there, they moved away, leaving Africa still positioned at the place where this once single or one landmass used to found. So this, if you then take back these parts back together, they'll still form that Gondwana land, the shape of the original Gondwana land. But however, the most surprising thing there is that they all fit into Africa. That's the central position of the land masses that we have. They are like detachments. America, Northern America, Europe, Asia, Australia, they are like detachments, offshoots, subcontinents, subparts which came out of Africa. If we try to force them back, they come back and form Pangaea, one single landmass. So, what am I saying here? It means when God created Adam and Eve, there was one landmass. So all these people whom we are calling Americans, whom we are calling Asians, Europeans, Australians, New Zealanders, and blah blah, and also the Africans, they all fit into Africa. So they are one when God sees the landmass. God doesn't see it in those parts or those continents. Right. What I was saying, if you look at America, the eastern part of the eastern edge of America, northern and southern, if you take them to the western part of Africa, in terms of the vegetation, even the cultures, the type of rocks that is found there is similar, it's uniform. The fauna and flora is uniform. Same applies if you do on the eastern side of Africa, together with Australia and these other small parts, these small islands. They fit in Africa. So below there, they're sitting on the one landmass. So Africa merely means man. Alright? And God created man. So what does it mean when you say Paul Measure of Africa? It means Paul Measure of Africa is commissioned to complete the work of our Lord Jesus Christ in this earth. So he has been sent for us as men. When we say men, we are talking of us who are called Africans today, and also the Americans, the Asians, the Europeans, Australians, everyone who is there, they all feed from the motherland, Africa. They are all offsprings from the motherland, Africa. Right. So, Africa now doesn't merely mean the Africa that we know today, but we mean men as men created by God, because this land was once one. So, he is the commissioned one of this, of all men in this world. Because to God, we are seen as one person, one landmass, which is Africa. So let's meet in the next video where we are going to talk about the first test that Paul Measure of Africa received. The gospel chariot.